Recording in progress. Let me first share my screen. Um, okay. Can you see my screen?
We can see it. I can confirm.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Very good. Thank you, Rada. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending this session. Today, we are going to be talking about effective presentation skills. Today we are going to talk about theoretical details on how to deliver presentations. We are going to discuss how to prepare for a presentation. We are going to discuss how to deliver a presentation. We are going to discuss what are the important tips that you have to take into consideration. This can be beneficial for you, especially you're in your end of project, master degree, or I know that whenever we are going to graduate in Tunisia, we need to deliver a presentation, work on a project, and then deliver a presentation. But also, it will be super beneficial if you use these theories and apply them when you are a young professional. When you get a job, when you have to deliver presentations, these theoretical tips are going to be super useful if you apply them so you can deliver an effective presentation. Any type of presentation, that's for sure, because presentations are different. There are the academical, there are the data-oriented presentation, but there are also other presentation that can be where you need to transmit an idea, when you need to persuade a group or persuade a boss or persuade a donor, etc., etc. So these tips are top level tips when it comes to theory, and hopefully it's going to be useful. And later, after this 1 hour presentation, there will be Q&A. So feel free to unmute yourself or also drop a message, drop a question. But during the presentation as well, just to make sure that you do not forget a question or something. If you see something and you want to ask a question, just drop your question in the box, in the chat box, so later we can address it. Another important information before we get the ball rolling and start is that, as I mentioned last week, and let me repeat this again, starting hopefully from the next month or the month after, from October or November, which I was just discussing with Rada, we are going to have these sessions in person, hopefully both in SUS American Corner and also in Tunis American Corner. The structure will be completely different because since we are doing this remotely right now, it's mostly theoretical. We just sharing some theories, some tips, but once we are going to have in-person workshops and capacity buildings, we are going to do both theoretical and practical. So we are going to have 90 minutes or 120 minutes, 2 hours sessions for specific soft skills. 45 minutes or 1 hour is going to be theories, and then another 45 minutes it will be practice to use those tips, those theories, so you can try and apply them and see how it works. So this is a quick piece of information. Now, let's get the ball rolling and start. The agenda, as usual, and as you know me, it is not extensive. It's just 4 quick slides, but hopefully they will be rich with information that will be beneficial for you. The first slide is going to be about how you plan your presentation. The second slide is going to be about designing your slides, the slides that captivates, and we are going to share a few tips. There is the pre-presentation, and here when we talk about the pre-presentation, it's a little bit different from the planning of the presentation. Pre-presentation is more how to prepare for the presentation. And then finally, it's going to be the presentation delivery. So these are the 4 slides that we are going to address, and these are the 4 highlights that we are going to discuss. As I mentioned, it's going to be a top-level theory, but happy to address any in-depth question that you guys have, because I know and I'm sure many of you, whether you are an academic or young professional or mid-level professional, I'm sure that you delivered presentation before, you had some challenges, you had some doubts, you made some mistakes, you want some improvement. So please, guys, make sure not only to rely on what I'm going to deliver right now, but also on your previous experience to ask questions. So preparing your presentation, and please guys mute yourself. Preparing your presentation, there is a famous quote from Benjamin Franklin, which is failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Basically, when you plan your presentation, the most important thing to make sure that your presentation will be successful, you have to prepare it very, very, very well. Which means you have to do everything possible to, for example, get information, even if you have expertise on the topic that you are going to deliver presentation on. You have to do some more digging, and this is one of the points that we are going to discuss. You have to also know your audience, another point that we are going to discuss. So this is really important. The reason why is that I know many people that whenever they have a presentation, they think that they know and they are knowledgeable about the theme that they are going to address. So they fail to prepare. If you fail to prepare, you have to understand there is a high chance that your presentation will not be smooth. Your presentation will not be effective. Again, I'm saying high chance. So it's not 100% guarantee that it's not going to work. When I guarantee that it's not going to work, if your presentation it is on something that you don't have a deep knowledge on. Say, for instance, I have expertise on soft skills, okay? And then Rada calls me and tell me, okay, tomorrow we are going to have some audiences from the embassy and they want to know about the soft skills, etc., etc. I told her, okay, cool, no problem. I'll deliver the presentation tomorrow. Even though I have expertise on that, it's really important for me to put together a really solid presentation to understand what kind of information are needed from the audiences, what kind of information are needed from Rada, and then also prepare really attractive presentation or attractive slides, which is, I'm using the word attractive because it's key here and we'll discuss later why. So this is really important. So it doesn't matter how much expertise you have to prepare. The other thing is, if you do not have expertise, and sometimes when you do not have expertise on the thing that you are going to present, you do not have to be stressed. I know that it happens to me. It happens to everyone, and it happened to me before. Is that sometimes you deliver a presentation on something that you do not have an extensive knowledge on, so it stresses you out because you start have some doubts. I do not have knowledge on that. What if things do not work out? That's why it's really important to prepare as much as possible, to prepare your slides, to prepare your contents, to prepare what kind of questions that can be asked. So focus on the words that I'm saying right now and the tips, because all of these we will dig deeper into during the presentation, because everything falls under the preparation and the planning here. So it's true that you stress out because you don't have an extensive knowledge, but the only way that will give you confidence is to prepare. It's like when you are taking an exam. If you taken an exam the end of the week and then you spend the whole week preparing, you will definitely walk into the classroom with a set of confidence because you already know that you were studying for the last week. If you do not study the last week, if you do not study the whole week and then you study maybe the last one day or the last night, the confidence, it's not going to be the same. So this is something really important that you have to understand. So it's really key. It's really important for you guys to prepare your presentation and to prepare yourself for the sole reason is that that preparation will give you confidence. And confidence is the engine for the success of your presentation, because you definitely need a certain confidence when delivering the presentation, which is also something we'll discuss later. So when I say preparing your presentation or planning your presentation, there is one thing that you have to do, which is really important. Now, some people, they might find it a little bit surprising, but it's possible. There is really important thing, and this can be beneficial for students, university students, those who are going to deliver academic presentations. You have to know your audience. You have to know their knowledge, you have to know their expertise, their interest, and how they might potentially interact with you. Let me give you an example. So I think that I mentioned this before, is that academically, I studied applied science. Specifically, I studied geology. I had a master's degree. I attended a conference where I was going to deliver a presentation. Well, I delivered a presentation. Now, when you deliver a presentation, you have what we call a jury. The jury, there are 3 or 4 members, and the jury obviously, like, you know, some part of the audience as well. 3 or 4 members that they are going to assess your performance, and they are going to assess your work, they are going to assess your presentation, and they are going to assess your work, and they will give you feedback and they will ask questions. Now, when I put together my presentation, when I was putting together my presentation, whenever you have a conference and you are going to deliver a presentation, as I mentioned before, you have the name of the audience, okay? And this is academically speaking. I'll give you an example when it comes to professionally speaking later. When I was giving the names, I made sure that I checked their LinkedIn profiles, I checked their SearchGate profiles. So SearchGate, it's similar to LinkedIn, but SearchGate, it's for academic. SearchGate is basically a website where you go, you find the profiles of professors, of researchers, etc., etc. You can see what's their interest, what's their knowledge, and what's their background, scientifically speaking. And based on what I found on their website of SearchGate, I tailored my presentation accordingly, because they had a geology background as well, and the presentation that I was going to deliver, it was in geology. So I had a specific information that I wanted to share, but I made sure that these information, they were the way to deliver the information, it was tailored to their interest based on what I found online. So whenever you have audience, whenever you know who are going to be your audience, who's going to be your jury, you can do like a little bit of research, see what's their interest, see if they published things before, because when they publish things, basically they publish idea. When they have idea, you can basically tailor your presentation in a way that you can talk to their ideas. So that way you can grab their attention, you can make sure that they are on the same page, or you are on the same page, which is going to make things easier in terms of them paying attention, them interacting with you as well. So this is when it comes to academic. And professional, for instance, say that you have a presentation for a donor, okay? And then when you have a presentation for the donor, I'm pretty sure you know who are the people who are going to be attending the presentation. Either names or also like the donor themselves. If you have a donor, for example, say that US Embassy, you are going to do a presentation for the US Embassy. So the thing that you need to do depends also on the context of the presentation and the topic of the presentation. The things that you can do is that you can go check the US Embassy website. You have to see their values. You have to see their missions. You have to see what's their interest, because that you would definitely find. You can definitely find it in the websites of an organization or a donor. Here, as an example, I give the US Embassy, but also you can find it in the profile of the people who are going to be attending. For example, if you are delivering a presentation to someone who's called Malik, okay, you can check the LinkedIn of Malik, see what kind of things that he or she publishes, see what are the things that he or she publishes frequently. And then based on that, you have an understanding on what's their interest and what's their knowledge. And that way, in your presentation, you can put something that would trigger their attention, trigger their interaction based on what you found on their LinkedIn. So this is how you can tailor your presentation. And this is why you have to know your audience. So during your presentation, when you're putting your presentation together, you make sure that these audience, you will grab their attention. So it's really important to know your audience, and knowing your audience is part of your planning and preparation. Now, the other thing which I already mentioned before, research your topic. I do not really care how long have you been delivering training in soft skills or delivering training in project management. If tomorrow you have a presentation on a project management, on a soft skills, you have to do an extensive research. You have to do an extensive research on the topic, on what's new, etc., etc. But this is really important because, first of all, you have to be up to date, because you never know, because there might people who are going to be attending who might have a more expertise than you do, and they might ask you some questions that would be difficult for you to answer. And we will let you. I will discuss later how you can address a question that you cannot answer. So even if you are an expert, please put your ego aside and make sure that you do a research on what you are going to deliver. Every time I have a presentation on soft skills, I put together slides, but for each highlight, I make sure the least that I can do is that I Google, for instance, how to do a presentation. What's new? Okay, it's new that you can use AI in presentation. That's excellent. That's something that I can use in my presentation. Maybe it's not relevant now, but in the future it can be relevant. So I can take note. So that way also you can improve your presentations. You can also deepen your knowledge, and that would open your eyes that, okay, even though you have expertise on presentations and how to deliver a key presentation, you have to understand there are things that are new, and you can improve your presentations, improve your slides, not necessarily on the presentation that you are going to do now, but in the future as well. So this is really important, that why you have to do a research on your topic. And there is another thing for me, for example, that is really beneficial for me that I like to use, is that whenever I read books about specific topics, say presentation, leadership, problem solving, any books whatsoever, there is always something new. Reading book for me, it's like researching, because whenever you read book, you have some new information that will help you again to improve your performance, and also improve your presentation content on this specific topic. When it comes to leadership, for instance, the first soft skills presentation that we had, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was about leadership. After that presentation of the leadership, I read a couple of books about leadership, and now I have more ideas about leadership that hopefully when I come to Tunisia, when we do it in person, I will share with you these ideas. So you have to always research your topic. You have to always adapt your presentation. You have to always improve your presentation content when I'm here. That's what I mean here. So please do research your topic. This is really important, even if you are an expert. Now, know your North Star message. North Star message is basically your key message, what you want to transmit in the presentation. Now, there is something important that you have to understand, is that when you are delivering presentation, you have a key message that you are going to transmit. Now, when I say you have to know what's the key message that you are going to transmit, doesn't mean that you start the intro of your presentation and then you tell them your key message. No. So basically, you have to grab their attention. You have to lay the ground for them that this is what we are going to discuss about it, and this is what we are trying to transmit. but do not share with them your key messages. Basically, if I am talking about public speaking, okay? So I have a key message that I want to transmit about public speaking is that this is the key message. This is not what I'm gonna say. Public speaking, it's about gaining confidence, but gaining confidence is about practicing. This is really important. Public speaking, confidence, practicing, and it's a matter also of failing. It's fine. So the first couple of times you're going to have a public speaking, it's not going to be effective, but this is the process that you have to follow on. So this is the key message that you want to transmit. But the way how you are going to lay the ground, it's how to grab their attention from the beginning about public speaking. And for instance, something that you have to mention or you have to develop on, not necessarily, it can be, you know, like one whole slide talking about the thing, rather than one phrase. For instance, you can tell them public speaking is the second biggest fear, after second biggest fear for human beings after death. So this is one way that you can grab their attention, but by using a solid and a powerful sentence. But again, it doesn't need to be only one sentence. You can develop on this. This is an example. For me, for example, if I want to talk about public speaking, this is a sentence that I can develop my North Star message on this. For instance, I can put like some graphs about the public speakings, about, you know, the percentage of people in each continent, of how many people they have like fear of public speaking, etc., etc. So it's a whole slide to grab their attention and to lay the ground so you can later on transmit the key message. Because basically, when you put that slide, you will leave them hungry to know what's the message that you are going to transmit. And you will grab their attention until the moment you transmit your key message. So this is really important. Know what's the key message that you want to transmit and make sure that you lay the ground at the beginning so you grab their attention. So later they are focusing and they are hungry to understand and to know what's your point exactly and what's the message that you want to transmit. Now, prepare your 3 key messages. Now, when I say 3 key messages, it doesn't necessarily need to be 3 key messages. It can be 1 key message. It can be 2 or 3 key messages. And here, as I said, for instance, when it comes to public speaking, the key message is that public speaking, it's about confidence, it's about practice, and it's okay to fail the first couple of times. This is how the process happens. So this is the key message. You have to prepare your key messages. You have to write them down on your notebook so you know exactly what you're going to transmit. Matter of fact, these 3 key messages, your whole presentation need to be evolving around these 3 key messages. So this is something really important. So the first thing that you need to do, take a notebook, and we will discuss later regarding writing down, because I'm a huge believer on the fact that presentation, it is not a PPT thing. It's more an ink and paper. So you might find this weird, but it is an ink and paper. Presentation, you have a pen, you have a notebook. Before even starting your slides, you write down your key messages on a piece of paper, and then you build your whole presentation around these 3 key messages. Now, the other thing is, when are you going to deliver these key messages? When is the key moment where you are going to say those key messages? Now, I want you to focus on these moments. They need to be not emotional, but you need to be creative on the moment when you are transmitting these key messages. Here I said create emotional moments. What do I mean by emotional moments? For instance, if I want to say that public speaking is about confidence, it's about practice, and it's about failing again and again until you find your balance. When I transmit this, you cannot, guys, just like, talking and talking and talking, and then like, say this phrase and then keep talking and talking and talking. No, you have to create emotional moment. What I mean by emotional moment, for instance, you can stop, you can have a whole slide where you are going to discuss about this. And even when you display the slide, you can say, okay, this is an important slide. I want you guys to focus on what I am going to transmit and what's the information that I'm going to transmit in these slides. And then when you go through these slides, reduce your pace of delivering the presentation. What I mean is that take your time in delivering the message. So for instance, I share here, for instance, this is, say that in our presentation here, we have this slide, which is prepare your presentation or plan your presentation actually. And the key message that I want to transmit is that you have to create emotional moments when delivering the three key messages. This is an example, right? So here is how I would have started the slide. So guys, I want you to focus with this slide, which is prepare your presentation. I want you to take notes on what I'm going to transmit, on what I'm going to communicate in this slide, okay? Because this is going to be useful for you and this is going to help you improve your presentation skills. And whenever you are trying to deliver a presentation, I want you to make sure that you have 3 key messages. 3 key messages that you have to focus on. These 3 key messages, they will be the most important elements of your presentation. So I want you to focus on these 3 key messages, but not only on knowing what are the key messages that you want to transmit, but I want you to create powerful emotional moments when delivering the presentation. Because these powerful emotional moments, they will help the audience remembering what you were trying to say. So this is why it's really important. I repeat, again, you have to think and know and understand what are the 3 key messages, but that's not it, because these key messages need to be transmitted to the audience in a powerful emotional way so they can remember it and they can understand it. See, guys, so this is one way how you can deliver your key message, right? Again, this is an example that I gave in the previous few minutes on an example if this preparing your presentation is my key message that I want to transmit today. So this is how you do it. You have to try to slow down when transmitting the message, repeat what you are trying to say, and then use strong vocabs. See here, I said that you have to use powerful emotional moments. You have to make sure, and it's important for people to remember again and again. So use some words, some vocabs that you are going to stress on the importance of the key message that you want to transmit. I hope this is clear. What else? Rehearse. Rehearse actually also comes in the next session, which is the pre-preparation of the presentation. Rehearse, for me, it comes before even researching your presentation. Rehearse is, matter of fact, the #1 source of success of your presentation. It's not your amount of knowledge, but rather it's how many times you rehearse your presentation. Some people, they rehearse it like 3 times. Some they rehearse it 10 or 15 times, right? Because they have time. Now, it doesn't matter how many times you rehearse your presentation. One piece of advice that I can share with you, and this is my piece of advice. You can, guys, take it or you can leave it. Try not to memorize your presentation. Try not to memorize a whole paragraph from your presentation. Because me, for example, if someone is memorizing the presentation or the content of the presentation I can spot them in the first 2 seconds. You can spot when someone is memorizing the presentation. That is exactly why. And again, I'm saying this, but later we will discuss about rehearsal as well. Maybe we'll skip it because we're tackling most of it right now. But the reason why I do not want you to memorize for 2 reasons. Because your success of the presentation, it is not only about the content, it's not only about the information that you're transmitting, but it's a whole package. It's also about your body language. It's also about your charisma. It's also about your confidence. And charisma, confidence, and also presentation skills, all of these, you cannot efficiently efficiently display them if you are memorizing the presentation. Now, some of you will ask why. Because when you are memorizing your presentation, your brain is focusing and trying to remember what you are trying to say. And when your brain is trying to remember what you memorized, you will not focus on the intellectual side of your performance. It might be great, all the words that you are going to transmit. It might be straight to the point. It might be you are going to tell them for the first time E equal MC square. But this is not important unless you know how to grab their attention. And grabbing the audience attention, it's a matter of intellectual skills. It's not a matter of content. Again, grabbing the attention of audience, it's the matter of intellectual skills. It is not a matter of the content. What I mean is that, yes, your content might be rich, but how are you gonna communicate that content? How are you going to use your body language to communicate your content? How are you going to move in the room? How are you going to persuade? See, all what I mentioned here, they are intellectual. They are not technical. The content is something, and these is it's completely different things. So try not to memorize. However, I understand some of you, they would say that you might forget or something like that. Well, I think that most of you, they would say that you might forget. Bullet points is sufficient. You can put bullet points. See here, for example, what I did, I put rehearsed, try not to memorize. That's a bullet point. I could have put try not to memorize. I could have written down, try not to memorize, because if you memorize, you will forget about using your intellectual skills, your body language, etc., etc., etc. But in fact, I only needed the key message to transmit is try not to memorize. And then I developed the idea around trying not to memorize. See? So the bullet point made my slide so simple, but also it gave me room to develop the message that I want to transmit. This is something really important. Now, that is another thing. I will also discuss it later, but let me repeat it again, because rehearsal and try not to memorize, it's one of the key component of the presentation, is that sometimes you can use bullet points, but if you use graphs, it would be excellent. Sometimes there are some data and some information that you can use graph. And matter of fact, graphs can give you more room to add information. For example, I could have put try not to memorize, and then I put a table of the advantage of memorizing and disadvantage of memorizing on a table, not on a text. On a table, it would have been nice. So I put try not to memorize, or I put memorize, and then I put like, what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages? Disadvantages is that you will focus only on memorizing. You would not be able to focus on your intellectual skills, on your body language, etc., right? Advantage is you will remember all the information, and it will be visual for the audience, etc., etc. So for me, bullet point is great. Graphs are excellent. So when you put a bullet point is amazing. As you see here, I always use bullet points. I make my slide simple, not a lot of words, but also I could have put graphs, right? Graphs is also excellent. Graphs is great especially for students, right? For people right now who are in the presentation, who are going to have a presentation for their PFE or even a PhD. Use graphs as many as possible. Do not use pictures, obviously, but use graphs as much as possible. What do I mean is that sometimes you have whole paragraph that you are going to put on your slides. Before putting the whole paragraph on your slides, I want you to, that paragraph, I want you to highlight the keywords or the key information. Highlight it on both, okay? And then take that paragraph, remove it, put a graph, put a table, or put a chart, or put something, and those keywords that you highlighted on the paragraph, put them on the graph. It will look simpler, easier, and better, and more beautiful, and more attractive, and also you will grab the attention of the audience. So get rid of the paragraphs. Make sure to get only the key messages from the paragraphs, and then put them on graphs, and that's it. So yeah, that's basically, it all evolves around trying not to memorize. So designing slides that captivates. Designing slides that captivates, it's the backbone, it's the umbilical cords of the success of your presentation. Because visuals is one of the most important components of your presentation. So you are not running for president in a way that people will only focus on the speech that you're delivering, but also you have to share some information with people, to share some data with the audience. So you definitely need to use the visual. Simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. Try not to complicate things. Try to keep your message short. As I mentioned, try to avoid many texts. Try to only use bullet points. This is something really important. Use pictures, use graphs, use tables, but also if you are going to use graphs and tables and pictures, limit them to 1 or 2 or maximum 3 in one slide. And these 1 or 2 or 3 that you are going to use in one slide, you better make sure that they all are connected. So I do not want you to put a graph about the number of population in the world and then put another graph about I don't know, I'm just giving an example, right? You cannot put like a graph about the number of population in the world and then put a graph about how many times the tree on your street are cut per year. It makes no sense. So this is just an example that I want to give, right? You cannot put like graphs and pictures in the same slide. They are not connected. So they always need to be connected, because I know some people sometimes they want to limit the number of their slides. So in a way that in one slide, sometimes they put different set of information that are not relevant. But if you put a different set of information that are not relevant, you will lose the attention of your audience, because their audience, they will start asking questions in their mind in terms, not on the presentation itself or the content itself, but they will be asking a question in their mind why you are putting these slides that they have completely different information that are irrelevant in one slide. You do not want them to focus on that, because if they focus on that, you're basically losing their focus on limitations. So this is really important. Brain remember visuals, as I mentioned. So picture, graphs, and tables. Again, picture, graphs, and tables. And this is possible. Always highlight the key information from the text that you want to use, and then put them on graphs and tables, or put like some nice picture that can transmit the message. Limit colors, that's for sure. I'm gonna make it simple. I'm not gonna focus on limit the colors. You can use, the best is to use one color, but you cannot use more than 2 colors. You use more than 2 colors, I'm sorry to tell you this, but your presentation is not, I'm going to put it like in a nice way. Your presentation is not going to be attractive. Your presentation is not going to be nice. Use only 2, the best it's use 1 color, but maximum use 2 colors, and use 2 colors that are compatible, right? You cannot put, for example, yellow and red. You cannot put like, I don't know, like black and red. You cannot put purple and yellow. So all of these colors, it's not attractive. I want to use another word, but let me say like it's not attractive. It's just like too many colors that they're not compatible. If you're gonna use two colors, you can use a dark and a light color, but the light color that you use, try to use the white, because the white is compatible with any other color. White and then another color, doesn't matter what's the other color that you are going to use, preferably dark color, like like black, maybe dark orange, all of these colors that can be nice. But for me, unless you have a specific purpose why to use two colors, try to avoid it. Use one color and that's it. I like to use black or dark blue based on the setup, and it's always great and it works wonderful. Use appropriate font and size. The whole presentation, you need to have the same font, that's for sure, but different size. Different sizes means like if you are going to put a title, obviously it's going to be different size. Make sure if it's bold, but then if you're going to put like text and bullet points, the size it needs to be less. So the same font for the whole presentation, and it needs to be different sizes. So this is another tip. Avoid too many special effects. I know that there are many effects that the PPT provide, that PowerPoint provides. Try to use only one or two effects for the whole presentation. You will see in my presentation, I always use the same effects, and it's great. You do not want to use so many effects. I mean, you are not delivering a presentation to little kids. You are probably delivering a presentation to jury. You are delivering presentation to donors, to bosses, sorry, etc., etc. So try to limit them. To avoid too many special effects. One or two effects that you use for the whole presentation is enough. Limit the number of slides. This is my favorite one. It's always great to limit the number of slides, because people sometimes, if they find that you are going to deliver 20 or 21 slides, trust me, you will lose them from the 6th or the 7th slide. So if you can put your presentation in less slide possible, it will be best. But of course, I completely understand. It depends also on the amount of information that you want to share. Tip number 6, less text, more bullet points, as I mentioned. Less bullet points, more graphs, which means it's great if you can use bullet points, okay? But also it's awesome if you can use graphs instead of bullet points. So less text, more bullet points, less bullet points, more graphs. But then the bullet points and the graphs, it's basically they need to transmit the key messages. From where you get the key messages, that paragraph that you actually wanted to copy paste and put it on the slide, again, highlight what are the key messages, get those key messages, put them on a bullet point, and put them on a graph. And it's pretty simple. Now, tip number 7, use images that are tailored to your message. Here, if you ever going to use use images, make sure that you use images that are tailored to the message that you are going to deliver, right? I mean, you cannot be talking about, for instance, if you are going to talk about leadership and you want to share a message, you cannot, for example, share a picture of, like, put a picture of, I don't know, like a sea or jungle or something like that, unless there is a solid, specific message that is tailored to sea or to jungle or to mountain, it's fine. But if you are going to talk about leadership in general and then you put like sea, it's not compatible. So you need to avoid that. Use breather slides. Probably this is the first time that you heard of. Me too. It was the first time that I heard of when I did my research, but it's really interesting. I used to do it differently, but this one, it's better. Breather slides is basically there are slides that can be that are empty, that are completely empty. What I mean, they're not completely empty. They don't have any content. They only have, for example, the title of the next section. So if the title of the next section is going to be designing slides that captivate, the 8 tips, you can use a whole slide about designing slides that captivate, the 8 tips. You stop there because it's called breather. You stop there. And then when you stop there, for instance, you can ask the audience if they have questions. When you stop there, for instance, you can summarize what you were saying in the previous section. So you can lay the ground to the next section. Okay, so these are slides that are breathers. These are slides that makes you stop, make sure that the audience will inhale the information that they received from the previous slides, especially if you have a long slide, and make sure if they have any questions, if they have any doubts. So this is the breather slides. And also it gives you some space for you as well to breathe, slow down before to attack the next slide. So I highly recommend using the breather slides. And I know in academic set, it's a bit difficult because in academic set, especially when it comes to PFE or to PhD, you cannot ask audience whether they have a question or the jury. You have to finish quickly. But what you can do is that you can have a breather slides where you put the title of the next section. Don't ask them about question, but summarize the points that you are discussing so they can remember and then attack, right? But also, guys, take into consideration the timing. If you have timing to stick to, take that in consideration. If you have a tight time, don't use the breather slides and dive straight to the next slide. The pre-presentation, I'm going to make it quick. Be a ruthless editor to your presentation. What I mean here is that sometimes we have so many information that we want to put. We put all the information that we have in our presentation. So what I want you to do, go ahead and put all the information that you have in your presentation. Even if the presentation will be 15 slides or 16 slides, put all the information that you have in your presentation. All the information possible. Even if you have a report, put all the information that you want to do in the presentation. But I want you to be a ruthless editor. What do I mean by a ruthless editor is that after putting all these slides, you go one by one and make sure to remove all the unnecessary information. How are you gonna do that? If you go back to a few slides earlier, I told you that you have to use pen and paper, write down the key messages that you have in a piece of paper. These are my key messages. And around these needs to be evolving my presentation, right? Now, when you put your key messages on a piece of paper, you have an idea about how your presentation is going to be structured. You have an idea on what are the information. You have an idea how you're going to transmit the messages. You can even have an idea about the number of slides. Based on this piece of paper, on the key messages, you have to be a ruthless editor. Everything that is not relevant to the key messages or to the piece of paper that you wrote down at the beginning, remove it. And you will see that there is a lot of additional unnecessary information that you added it yourself out of stress, out of fear that you skip some important information. But basically, these information, you can get rid of it if you have some tool with which you can compare the PPT that you have to the information that you want to transmit. That source of information that is going to be source of comparison is the piece of information where you wrote down your key messages, what you want to transmit, and how you want your presentation to be. And that's how you can become a ruthless editor. So that's why, again, put all the information that you want on the PPT. If it's 20 slides, let it be, but then do the comparison to that piece of paper, and you will find yourself removing a lot of information. The other thing is rehearse at least 8 times while recording yourself. For me, I prefer to do 8 and above. For other, it can be even less. Record yourself. We all have phones. We all have phones or have a laptop. Record yourself because this is going to be beneficial. Because when you record yourself, you're putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, right? Not only this, but also you can watch yourself later, see where you did some mistakes, see where you didn't perform well, see also where the message was not clear, and then basically edit accordingly, and improve accordingly. So whenever you have a rehearsal, I know that there is a lot of people that say do a rehearsal in front of mirror. Well, I tell you, do not do a rehearsal in front of mirror, but do a rehearsal in front of recording camera. So record yourself, and then when you record yourself, it is better to watch later so you can understand what are the mistakes. Because when you do it in front of a mirror, basically you are not recording yourself. So you might do some mistakes that you cannot notice. But when you record yourself on the phone, you can later watch and see what are the mistakes. What are the information that are irrelevant that I shared, right? And basically here you can improve yourself accordingly. Another important information that I want to mention is that we mentioned earlier regarding the rehearsal and the bullet points and that you cannot do a text. You have to understand that the language skills also play a huge role when it comes to delivering a presentation. So if you are delivering a presentation, say in French or in English, also your language skills can help. And when I say in language skills, sometimes there are specific vocabs that you can use that can be powerful during your presentation. Take note of these words. Do some research about these words based on the presentation that you are going to deliver. Take note and try to remember these. Do not force it out of you. Again, do not force it out of you, which means like even if you are rehearsing and you do not say these words, it's fine. You don't need to use them. What I want you to do is that I want you to be comfortable with yourself in front of the recording camera in delivering the presentation. If you find yourself comfortable, you are 50% there. Again, I say 50% there. I'll let you know when you will be 100% ready. If you rehearse 8 times, you find yourself that you did not memorize anything, but still delivered, did a good job in front of recording camera. And I'm sorry to tell you this, guys, it's not going to be easy to record yourself in front of camera. Trust me. You think that it's easy, but it's not easy. Try it and you will see. Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm upfront with you. I do not want to tell you like I'm not gonna try to do what other people do. Oh, it's fine, do it. No, I'm gonna tell you that it's not going to be easy. But if you master that, you are good to go in any presentation possible. So this is something important. But then the recording is 50%. The other 50% is when you practice with distraction. So basically, practice with distraction is you deliver the presentation with some distraction around you. I'm not going to say you have to go, for example, in downtown and do the presentation, no. But practice your presentation playing some music at the same time, playing music in the background. Deliver the presentation in a room, for instance, where you, for example, you can do it, but I know it might be silly, but you can have your brothers sitting in the room and having a chat, and you deliver in the same room the presentation, right? This might be silly, but the best thing that you can do is that you can play music or you can play a podcast, put it a little bit loud, and then that's a distraction. And try to deliver the presentation because your brain will not be able to focus because of the outer environment is not comfortable. Here I'm talking about the outer environment. I'm not talking about the other distraction that I mentioned previously where you remember, because there is the inner environment and there is the outer environment. The inner environment is basically your brain is not focusing because trying to remember something else, like memorizing some words. The outer environment is that you cannot focus because there is outer distraction. It's completely different because even with the outer environment, there is a lot of distraction. Your brain can still focus to deliver the message. If you manage to control and deliver the message and deliver the presentation with the distraction around you while you are doing the recording, you are good to go to deliver the presentation for Elon Musk, if you would like to. So this is how you can master the presentation techniques. This is how you can master delivering a presentation, no matter what are the distractions. Of course, there is other component, like I mentioned before, which is preparation, etc., etc. But the other thing is that when it comes to the delivery and the delivery day, or like the preparation for the delivery, to make sure that you are ready to deliver the preparation, make sure that you deliver, you train yourself, or you rehearse in front of camera, and make sure also you rehearse where there is a little bit of distraction. Distraction, it's fine. You can play a podcast. You can play, for example, the TV. You can play music and then record yourself and then do the presentation. Okay, you will fail multiple times, but you will make sure to control it over time. And this is the best and efficient tip that I can share with you in order for you to be ready for the presentation. Now, pre-presentation, try to predict question. That's a little bit tough, but it's one tip that you can do it, other people cannot. Me, sometimes I can, depends on the presentation, sometimes not, because sometimes you can predict the questions based on the content that you share. Because, for instance, if you share content of some data that is new or detailed than you, obviously you will know what they are going to ask you about, right? If I deliver a presentation, for example, now about, if I'm delivering a presentation about effective presentation skills, one of the questions that I have in mind that the audience might ask, you might guys ask, I'm not checking the chat box, maybe someone who already asked that, is that people, they might ask me whether or not this applies for remote presentation and in-person presentation as well, right? Other question might be regarding, if I don't share, I think that at a certain point I will share it later, the fear when I'm delivering the presentation, right? So you can somehow predict the questions based on the presentation that you put. Now, when it comes to presentation delivery, real quick, you have to use some techniques to manage presentation noise. We all get stressed out when delivering presentation. I get stressed out when I deliver a presentation. I've been delivering a presentation for a long time, and sometimes I'm scared. Sometimes I'm stressed out. In person, I'm stressed out. Remotely, I'm stressed out. You know, a few minutes before the presentation, I'm stressed out. It's fine. It's not a problem. Well, there is one difference. The difference is some people, they can control the stress, and other people, they cannot control their stress. Let me tell you this, and this is a fact. There is no one who is not stressed out or who is not scared when they get in a stage, for example, to deliver public speaking, to do like a speech, and this is public speaking, or standing to do a presentation. No one, absolutely no one. What is the difference? Some of us can control this fear, they cannot control the fear. And the difference is simple: practice. There is no quick solution to it. Trust me, guys, there is no quick solution to it. So if you deliver a presentation for the first time, some people, they are skilled. I mean, some people, they can control their fear, they can feel comfortable when they're delivering the presentation. That's amazing. That's great. You know, I know a lot of people that never did the presentation before, and they, like from day one, they start to deliver a great presentation in terms of controlling their fears and being comfortable, right? Other people not. For those who are not comfortable, who are stressed out for the first time, it's fine. It is really, really fine. It's not a problem. The first presentation that I delivered, it was a complete disaster. So there is no quick solution about it. It's all about the experience. Always remember that even though now I'm not doing a good job, but with practice, I will reach a point that I will deliver a great presentation. I will be a great presenter. This applies for presentation skills, but also for public speaking, which is hopefully something that we will discuss later. And this is when it comes to the positive talk. The positive talk, that when you deliver the presentation and you feel a little bit scared, you have to know what you are going to tell yourself. There is one thing that I always tell myself, is that whenever I'm delivering a presentation, for example, when it comes to soft skills, I'm doing a training and I'm trying to deliver a presentation, and I feel a little bit stressed out, there is one thing that I always tell myself. I do not think that there is anyone who read more books on soft skills than I did. I do not think that there is someone who has been researching soft skills topic the last week to prepare for the presentation more than I did. I do not really think that there is someone who might be able to deliver the presentation right now because I believe that I have better knowledge. So you have to use that positive talk. You have to use that a little bit of ego with yourself that you stand out from everyone, that you are ready, that you can do it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes the positive talk is also post presentation. If you did not do good. Also remember, tell yourself that this is just the beginning, and later you will do a great job. This is really important. Now, when it comes to the presentation itself, the moment when you are stressed out, you cannot control yourself, etc., etc. There are 3 tips that I can give you guys. 3 tips that I can give you. Tip number 1: breathe. Breathing is scientifically proven to be one way to relieve stress. So you have to inhale for 3 seconds, which is hold your breath for 3 seconds, and then exhale for 3 seconds. Because you're stressed, there is a scientific explanation. I'm sorry, I should have researched that actually. Scientific explanation how you can control your stress through breathing. Because when you stress, your body needs oxygen. Okay, so get some oxygen. Another way to control your stress is try to sit down. What I mean by try to sit down, there is one thing that I do when I deliver presentation in training. I usually and I often use tall chairs, and you will see if I deliver a presentation. Hopefully, when I come back to the American corner, there are tall chairs in the American corner of Tunis. I'm not sure about Sousse, but I often use them because standing it might be like stressful. So you can sit on a tall chair and ask the audience question. Meanwhile, breathe and control yourself and give them some time to maybe talk. And meanwhile, for you, just like control your stress and breathe. This is the fact that I shared about you guys. But when you see me, if I'm doing the presentation in person, sitting in chair, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm stressed out. Sometimes I am, but it doesn't necessarily always mean that I'm stressed out. But I'm not saying that I do not stress out. I do stress out all the time about presentation, but it's a matter of practice that allows me to sometimes control that stress. The other tip is that it's not always useful, but one way that I use myself is that I always hold a pen, or I hold a remote control, or I hold something on my hand. It helps. I cannot explain how, but for me, it always helps. But when you hold something in your hand, please avoid that you are playing with that pen all the time or remote control all the time, because that will be a distraction for the audience, and you do not want to distract the audience. So these 3 techniques: breathing, try to sit. When you sit, try to sit on a tall chair, not like the normal chair, because you want to make sure that the audience are looking at you. And also don't sit just for a few minutes to control your stress, right? And then hold something on in your hand. The other thing is controlling your body language. Oh, this is also, it's really important. You have to control your body language, because body language, it enhance attention, convey confidence, and add clarity to your message. I'm a big fan of body language when it comes to presentation skills. Body language for me, it is 60% of the success of the presentation. And most of the presentations that I succeeded, I focused on body language more than anything else. So it's true about the message, but the clarity of the message, the confidence in transmitting the message should be displayed on your body language. When it comes to body language, please, not too little, not too much. So I do not want you to be dancing in the room. I want you to control your body language in the way that you use your hands. You are not going to be like dancing. It's not a circus, but control your body language. Again, not too much, not too little. I promise you guys that one day we will have a whole session about the body language. Because it's a whole science, right? Hand limited to the upper chest and to the belly. I do not want you, when talking, your hand will be everywhere, above your head and everywhere. No, your hand needs to be controlled between your upper chest and your belly, and that's it. So it's basically, imagine that there is a square up till your shoulder and down to your belly, and that's where you should choose your body language. I have a whole book about a body language that I read, and hopefully out of that book I can put together a presentation and I can deliver to you when I come back to Tunisia. 2 to 3 steps maximum. You should not be walking all over the room. 2 steps, 3 steps, and that's it. Make sure that you have a central position. So when you're moving 2 steps or 3 steps, but always go back to the central position where everyone can see you. Slow and relaxed movements. I do not want you to be running around like Usain Bolt, but I want you to just move slowly and talk slowly, because this is a powerful way to transmit the message. And there is a rhythm with the slow motion and the slow speech. It allows people to be attentive to you. So slow and relaxed motions, 2 to 3 steps, hand limited to upper chest and belly, not too little, not too much. And then this will enhance the attention of the audience, display confidence and clarity on your message. Command the room. I like this one, not too much, but I still like it because you are the master of the room. So you have to command the room. The way that you command the room is about through the body language and through the emotional. The emotional is that when you're transmitting a message, there is some channel of excitement and passion in your message. There is also a way to transmit emotion through your voice tone, through when you are going to go up in your tone, when you are going to go down in your tone, when you are going to slow down. And through that communication tips and communication skills, you will be able to command the room. So this is one way to command the room. The other way to command the room is that by transmitting the body language, by displaying a powerful body language, as I mentioned before. But the other thing is, when you command the body language that I mentioned previously, it's basically, it shows that you are relaxed, stable, and also you have to display confidence. And the confidence, most of the time, I can see it from people's faces, especially when they are smiling and transmitting the messages. If they are not smiling, they are definitely stressed out. If they are stressed out, they are not commanding the room. So you command the room through the emotional and the emotional side, emotional presence, and also through the body language. That's how you command the room. Of course, you command the room doesn't mean that you are the boss, but you are the center of the attention of everyone. So own and earn that attention through displaying excitement and passion in a professional way. Again, we are not in a circus. You're not going to be running around, but also through your body language, how you are relaxed, how you are stable, and then through the confidence and smile. That's it, I guess. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your attention. Sorry, I'm 15 minutes over the time, and I hope that you enjoyed the presentation. I'm gonna check quickly the questions so we can save some time. And yeah, I'm gonna go through the questions, but also if you would like to unmute yourself and ask other questions, please feel free to do it, right? Okay. I suggested the participants to meet one day at American Corner to get to know each other in person and to prepare before Malik's arrival. No, I mean, we will definitely do that. We'll do a kickoff meeting in American Corner Tunis, in American Corner Sousse. So the kickoff meeting, basically, it will be an intro. So I get to meet all of you in person, but also we will give you an intro in terms of what is going to be the workshop, what is going to be the structure, in terms of attendance as well. We always, of course, like happy that you guys attend all the session, because it will be more beneficial for you to attend all the sessions. But we will definitely have a kickoff meeting to discuss, to get to know each other, that's for sure, but also to discuss the, like the workshop, the structure that we are going to do it in person, because it's going to be a long-term thing, inshallah. Do you advise using the AI to prepare a presentation? Yes, I do advise to use the AI. There are a lot of new tools to be used. I'm not gonna lie to you, I did not dive into the AI in using the presentation yet. There are a few books that I targeted that I'm going to try to read, but also a few YouTube channels that I'm gonna check, and hopefully I can learn something that we can, try to apply it together in a practical session. To succeed in a presentation, you have to work on visual, vocal, emotional, and physical communication. I couldn't agree more. You definitely need to work on visual, vocal, emotional, and physical and communication. When you work on those, please find the balance. Don't overwork and don't underwork. Find the balance. This is really important. Najla, I think some people need to memorize, especially if you do not master the language they are using to present. Fine, memorize it, but rehearse. Rehearse and rehearse. Use it, rehearse many times, because I want you to listen. Either your presentation is, I'm sorry for the word, either the presentation, I'm sorry for the word, either the presentation is a kick-ass presentation or the presentation is an average presentation. Where do you want to fit? Okay. It can be like a great presentation. A great presentation for me, at least, is a content and presence and charisma. If you can display charisma while memorizing, some people, they can do it. Excellent, do it. If you will find a difficulty, it's fine. There is an important information that I want to share with everyone that I didn't share, and I'm sorry about this. It's fine if you had a notebook next to you with bullet points and information that you want to share. It is completely fine. So this is not like when we were kids, mahfudat, where you have to decide and give you a mark. No, it is not that way. It's about the information that you. So they do not really care about from where you are going to get this information. But as long as you transmit it, it's nice. Of course, you're not going to take your notebook and read from the notebook, but it can help you also to add some bullet points and some more information, right? To keep your train of thought going. So yes, Najla, you can, some people, they need to memorize, but make sure if you memorize, also you have to control your body language and your presence. And to make sure that these two will be present, memorizing information, controlling your body language, controlling your presence, rehearse. Rehearse using distraction, as I mentioned. If it works, that's amazing. If it doesn't work, it's a room for improvement. But they should, of course, add load on them since they will need to work on many aspects, including the communication skills. Yes, this is exactly what I was mentioning. Dora, I use simple format for the text, font and size, and choose different color for the information that I want to highlight. Yes, but not too many colors, Dora. I'm not sure what kind of colors that you use. If you can share with me what kind of colors, but try to use. For me, for example, when I want to highlight important information, I don't use colors. I just put them on bold. On bold, it's always like, even in writing emails, sometimes when I want to share important information in a text, I use them on bold, because on bold, it grabs people's attention on what information that I want to transmit. Share with me what colors you use. And in the meantime, again, you can use bold instead of different colors. Hi, Malik. Thank you for helping us by delivering technical skills and intellectual. Are they not the same? Do they think you can highlight here technical and intellectual skills? When you got people talking, when you speak, what should we do? Delivering technical skills, intellectual skills, they are different. You mean in the presentation, technical skills and intellectual skills? So technical skills, let me define. Technical skills are related to, like vocation subjects that you study in the university, like IT, for example, like data related to science, things like that. These are the technical skills. Intellectual skills are the soft skills, are how to deliver the information, how to use your persuasive speaking abilities, etc., etc. So they are different. When you get people talking when you speak, what should we do? So when you get people talking when you speak, if they are interrupting, first of all, you have to, as I mentioned before, you have to command the room. Commanding the room, it means when you do the presentation, the same that I do myself, is at the beginning, you make sure that you let people know that all the question needs to be asked after the presentation, okay? And you let people know, for example, when it's remote, to drop their questions in the chat box, okay? So this is how you start. You have to make it clear from the beginning. But also, you should not be bossy. You should be friendly. For example, if I'm doing in-person presentation, I make sure that if they have questions, to keep them at the end, but also during the presentation, they need to make sure that they take note if they have any question, so they can remember them later, right? And then if I have a breather, as I mentioned before, breather slides where I'm gonna transiting from one slide to another, I make sure to ask whether or not everyone understands the point and whether or not they have questions. Even though I told them that they can keep their questions at the end, I broke the rule, or I break the rule, but during that breather slide to ask them whether or not they have questions, which is fine. You can do it. You set the rules. You can break the rule as well, because sometimes some people, they're eager about asking questions, about interrupting. So it's fine. You can do it, right? But again, remember, you have to command the room. Commanding the room, it starts from the beginning. What do you want? What do you want, or how do you want the presentation to progress, right? Some people, they can tell you during their presentation, you can ask questions, which is fine. Sometimes I do it when I have presentation, especially when I'm doing it in person. You will see that I leave the room for people to ask questions during the presentation. Matter of fact, it's better, and it helps. Why? Because sometimes when people ask the question, you open the room to further discussion on information that probably you don't have in the slide. And that will make your presentation richer, right? But it's about you to assess yourself, to assess your presentation, to assess the information that you want to deliver. Some people, they do not want to be interrupted. So you can set it up and set it right from the beginning. At the end, we will have all the Q&A. Or during the presentation, you can raise your hand and ask questions. Hopefully I answered your question. Mehdi bin Maryam, from your experience, what do you think is the most important aspect in all your presentations from all the aspects? I'm not sure if I get your question, but from my experience, it's about your knowledge on, I will try to answer based on what I understood, and let me know if Mehdi, I'm on the point. My understanding is, not my understanding, sorry. My point of view is that it's about your charisma and presence more than anything else. This is for one. But charisma and presence for itself, it's not enough. You have to have a minimum of knowledge of the topic. And minimum of knowledge of the topic, it is not enough. You have to do research as well. So these three, your presence, number one, your charisma, your communication skills, your intellectual skills, how to grab the attention of the audience, but also the knowledge of you are not going to be delivering a presentation of something that you don't know, of course not. And the third and the last thing is the research. Do your research. Even if you have knowledge, do your research. If you are prepared on these three, you're going to deliver a great presentation. Thank you, Mehdi. Dora, yes, only black and red, especially in class presentation. Red, avoid dark red, keep light red. Light red is nice, it's not bad. But if it's working for you, Dora, just leave it as it is, right? This is my recommendation. But if it's working for you, that's amazing. Actually, black and red, so you mean you have black and then you highlight the information on red. That's what you mean, right? It's not like slide colors. It's more the text colors. If the text colors is great, you can keep it that way. It's fine. It's fine. It works. Red, actually, it's a good color to highlight info. To guide me to only focus on the details and do not text color. Yes, exactly. That's great. To guide me to only focus on these details and do not forget them. I use the color red as a mind map to guide me. Exactly. I use the bold. So you use the red. It's totally fine. I use the bold. I'll try to use red as well, hopefully next presentation. And when you are completely speechless and forgot what you had to deliver, what to do? So if you are completely speechless and forgot what you had to do, this is one of the downsides about memorizing. There is no way that I do not want to say there is no way, but say that there is, it happened that you don't have, because one way to avoid, it's better safe than sorry. Better safe than sorry. It means al-wiqaya khayrun min al-ilaj. In your presentation, you always will have bullet points. You will always have graphs, right? if you're telling me that you completely speechless and forgot what you say, here, are you talking about a completely empty slide? No, you are not. You are talking about a slide where you have content, okay? Focus on what I'm gonna say right now. If you have a slide with context, with content, use your speaking abilities and your communication skills. Get creative. That's when you can use your intellectual skills. It happens to everyone. Sometimes you forget the idea that you want to share, but also you use the graphs that you have, you use the slides that you have, and you use your communication skills, use your intellectual skills on sharing, on reading what's on the slide. So this is one way to do it. So maybe you have specific information that you want to share right now that you forgot it. It's fine. But again, you still have some information on the slide. You have some graphs, you have some pictures. That's when you use your intellectual skills, and communication skills on what you have in the graphs to develop an idea, any idea that relates to what you have in the graph. Use your communication skills to read what's on the graph. So this is one tip that I can share with you. But if you can give me an example of completely speechless and forgot what you had to deliver, it would be great. Because when you tell me completely speechless and forgot what you had to deliver, that I completely understand if you're delivering a speech without PPT. But if you're delivering a speech with a PPT and you have the slides, you can improvise. When you say yes, do you mean delivering presentation, delivering speech without presentation? Because that's a completely different topic. Yes or no? Okay, say that I gave you an answer in case you forgot while you have a presentation, okay? When you deliver a speech without a presentation, even though this is not our topic, and you forgot what you say, at least you have an idea. You have an idea about without. Okay, so if you are doing it without, if you are doing like speech without presentation and you forgot what you are going to say, it's super simple. And you know why it's super simple? Because basically you know the topic, the overall topic. For instance, if I'm delivering a speech about soft skills, okay, I'm saying soft skills because this is like my area of expertise, right? Or project management, right? And I have a specific information that I want to share about soft skills. Okay, I forget that specific information about soft skills, right? But I still have so many other knowledge about soft skills, so many information that I can share about soft skills. I can share those, I can use those, right? Unless it's something that you do not have any expertise on and you have only a specific speech that you want to share, you don't know anything else, and then you forgot that speech. That will be an issue. But usually this is not how it works. If you're going to deliver a speech on something, I'm pretty sure you have a minimum knowledge on it. If you have a minimum knowledge on it, you're delivering speech and then you forgot what is it, and you forgot like what you want to say, use that other minimum knowledge and develop an idea, any idea possible to just to keep and grab the attention of the audience. Here is another solution that you can do. If you forget an idea, it often happens when you have a small audience, ask them if they have a question. Okay. Yes, if like the information that matters at the time, take your time, ask them if they have a question, because if they have a question, it will give you a room to remember what's the idea. So when you forget, you need to avoid that few seconds of silence. But you can have a few seconds of a silence to yourself to remember the idea, or maybe to go take notes. Ask them about if they have any questions. When they start asking questions, and this is a trick that you can do, because you need to have that moment of silence with yourself to remember the information. Do not answer the question. Ask if there is someone else from the audience, and if there is someone else from the audience, and to answer that question. So basically it will be the conversation between the audience, right? While you have that few moment for yourself to remember what you want to say. This works when it comes to a small audience. It happens to me before when I had to deliver a presentation to the audience. It happens also like to me in the American Quarter before, and I forget the info that I have, and I ask, do you guys have any questions? When someone asks a question, and I ask the audience again, is there anyone who is interested to answer that question? And then someone raises their hand, and I tell them, okay, go ahead and answer the question. While he or she answering that question, I take one step back and I try to remember, or I take notes. I check my notes and I try to remember what I want to say, and then I get the information. And then when I stop the debate, and then when I can share the information. This is yes, exactly everything. The worst thing when it comes to presentation and communication is the moment of silence, is the deep silence. But the deep silence is when you are silent compared, and the audience is silent as well. But you can engage the audience, and this is part of the communication skills as well, right? And basically, you need to have a moment silent for yourself, not for the audience. And this is one tip that I can share with you, is that have the audience ask questions, and have the audience also answer that question while remembering this. And one step back, going to the question of Lenovoca, I think it's the phone type, is that please, 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 and please, and please, and please again, use notes. Use notes. Everyone forgets. There is no one who does not forget. Use notes. It's like when you're preparing for a presentation, take a notebook, take notes. These are the bullet points. These are the things that I'm going to discuss, so you don't forget. If you forget, check your notebooks and you remember. If you're walking in without a notebook, if I am attending a presentation, trust me, if I'm attending a presentation and someone is coming to me to deliver a presentation without a notebook in their hands, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm leaving the room. I'm not staying in the room, because it shows that the person did not prepare. It shows that the person does not have a backup. It shows that the person, that if they're stuck, they will not find a way out of it. Maybe they use some tricks like I shared. There are so many other tricks that hopefully I share with you soon. But please, guys, take notes, use your notebooks. I know that you are great at what you are doing. I know that you are mastering what you are doing, but please make sure to take notes. This is really important, and go prepared, and you will do a fantastic job. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all your questions. And thank you for attending the presentation. Next week, also, we are going to have another presentation. Ghada will share with you the outlines of the presentation. We will definitely have in-person workshops on Saturdays, both in Tunis and in Sousse. I am putting together a proposal. Hopefully it will be beneficial to everyone, and hopefully that you guys enjoyed the presentation that I delivered today. If you have any questions, please, you have my email, you have my social media as well, Malik Khnisi. You can find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and yeah, like drop me a message. I'm happy to support and everything related to intellectual skills and soft skills. The recording of the session will be shared with you. You can rewatch it. You can share it with your friend as well. And hopefully we meet again next week. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.